When we talk about roadmap, Elementor and Gutenberg are the flagships ones. We also have support for Bricks as well because we had a number of existing customers request that. But we have a roadmap to knock down the page builders as we go and enhance, the type of support that the Smart Edits can do. Um, we certainly have Divi on our list and Beaver Builder are active conversations. And looking at Etch and a few of the newer ones popping up kind of on our radar.
From building enterprise SaaS products at Visa and Amex to automating edit requests across WordPress agencies, today's guest knows both scale and pixel perfect detail. Welcome to WP Legends. I'm Gautam, co-founder of Seahawk Media. Joining me today is Zach Hendershot, the founder of Maruni, an AI-powered collaboration platform that transforms client edit requests into smart, human-reviewed updates directly on WordPress websites. Zach has over 25 years of experience in enterprise product design, SaaS engineering, and agency operations, having worked with brands like Visa, FedEx, and Amex before founding Maruni. Dissatisfied with the inefficiency in agency client back and forth, he built a tool that uses smart screenshots and AI to interpret feedback and generate page updates. If the AI gets it wrong, the human reviewer simply approves or rejects the change. Maruni supports platforms like Elementor and Gutenberg out of the box and has a transparent tiered pricing model that includes a generous free tier of smart edits. In this episode, we'll unpack how Zach combines engineering rigor and agency empathy, what it takes to build automation without removing human control, and how Maruni is shaping the future of WordPress agency workflows. Zach, welcome to WP Legends. Let's rewind to the beginning.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Let's go back to so the agency was born. You have an agency called Crux as well. Was that born first and then Maruni? Is that how
It
it?
was one first. Yeah. In fact, I've had on and off relationships with agencies. I've started many in the past, focused on nonprofit, social innovation around poverty alleviation and water. And, for small startups, Crux, we started about, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago at this point, focused on sort of Fortune 1000 work. And that's really where the pain that Maruni is trying to solve really became much more intense for us. So yeah, Crux Digital started before our journey with Maruni.
And I see some incredible case studies on Crux as well. And is it because of one or two of those case studies that Maroni was born? How was Maroni exactly born? Let's go. Let's discuss.
Yeah, it's funny because there are a couple case studies where, often the hard part, and anybody who runs an agency knows this at some level, the hard part of running an agency is it's not so much doing the work and building the product or building the website or whatever it is. It's often the challenge of communicating with clients and meeting their needs and kind of having that long term and building a long term trust based relationship with clients. It's the human problem that's often hardest. And so some of those relationships we had in Crux Digital were hard to manage and hard to build that trust and keep that long-term relationship. And one of the opportunities we saw is can we automate some of how we manage these relationships? Can we automate some of the requests and provide a better experience than we can with a bunch of humans running around, trying to do a bunch of, manual work and spending large amounts of time and forgetting to communicate back and forth and all that? Can we automate some of that? And yes, some of those relationships were the inspiration, certainly, for what we built in Maruni. In a lot of ways, though, for us, it's really about, how do we use technology to make not just our lives better, but the lives of our clients and the relationships that we have. So that's, there's not one individual instance I can point you to, but it's a rainbow and a spectrum of different sort of challenges we've had running a successful agency for many years.
Got it. And it's only for WordPress ecosystem. And why did you choose WordPress, if I
So
may?
right now, yes, Maroon is focused on WordPress. I'll give you a little bit of a sense of the longer term vision here, but the reason we picked WordPress initially is that it's a very large market with this problem that we're trying to address, as we've talked to many agencies at this point, is very acute. And represents, I think the current count is like 43% of the total global web install base. So it represents a huge number of websites and web properties that by extension represent a large number of agencies that manage and create those websites. So it was just a great place to start, and it's a great community to build in. Anybody who's been in the WordPress space knows it's a very
Of
inclusive community, a very fun sort of, place to be, very innovative, built on top of open source, which is a great place to be because you can contribute and, be close to the creation of the thing. And so it's just a great place to build. Certainly the other part of it as well. And I've been in and out of the WordPress ecosystem for those 20, 25 years. And so I knew that really well. So that was an obvious place for us to focus. Um, but briefly, while WordPress is where we're starting, this problem exists in every CMS that exists in the world, whether that's, AEM or Drupal or Sanity or whatever it is, any place
course.
where you are as an agency are trying to build a web experience for a client, this problem exists that we're trying to solve. The problem of, you know, lots of labor and manual frustration going and making individual edits for relatively low complexity things. Often, large percent of the requests agencies get are spelling mistakes and, simple kind of like reordering of content and, simple requests that, even individual requests, and we measured this on WordPress, can take anywhere between 8 to 10 clicks, and even for a spelling mistake, 15 to 20 minutes to go and log into the site and go through a lot of
Oh yes,
process.
back and forth is insane. Yeah, mental.
Yeah,
I use the word
yeah,
mental.
exactly. And then you add in the layers of communication with your Slack channels and your email threads and whatever to clarify precisely what you meant. Like the problem exists everywhere. So we have aspirations to go and expand this technology to any and every platform. We just think WordPress is a great place to start and a great community to be in.
Of course, for 43% of the internet, no doubt. So Maruni combines screenshots, context metadata, and AI to automate updates. So what exactly is the AI feature all about there, if I may ask?
Yeah, this is a fun thing to talk about. One, because everybody loves AI at the moment, but two, it's AI with a really deeply practical purpose, which is I think fun and exciting to talk about. So yeah, we started life as a capture engine. So we you could compare it to like a bug herd or an Atarim or a user snap. There's a bunch of them out there. So we started as a web capture tool to capture design feedback,
Mhm.
capture and requests and bugs and whatever else. Um, and so we already had an engine that captured JavaScript logs, network traffic, all the DOM around, the capture that you make, the screenshot capture, all of the image capture, obviously, which is
Yes.
sort of the most visual thing you see, and video capture. And we kind of have a really great, robust engine. And when we talked to agencies and really started to articulate the problem that we're just talking about, we realized we can build on top of this really great capture engine and use all this rich context that you have to use AI to translate that into a specific implementation of the request that's being made. And
I
so
see.
roughly the way it works is, we capture and bundle up all the interesting content and context that we capture when we give the user the tool to describe what they want done. We have a series of agents, and I'm going to get maybe a little geeky. I can get geekier as we need to as we go on,
Yeah, yeah,
but
please, 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 in
yeah,
your
we have
words.
great, awesome. So we have a number of agents. We have an orchestrator agent that sort of takes us through a series of about 3 to 4 different agents that implement different pieces and parts of the whole. So one agent will evaluate all the context data that we send it. We'll make it will structure a request to the WordPress site to get everything it thinks will be relevant to implement the change. So it could be the CSS file, it could be a post content from WordPress, it could be an element or configuration JSON file sitting on the file system, whatever it is. It'll package all that up with the context and give it to another agent that takes all the context, inclusive of the detailed files and the CSS files or whatever is relevant, and generate a diff. That diff then is passed to an agent that is trained in its ability to apply a diff safely to a WordPress site, and then basically outputs some data that can be used to generate a preview of that change. And then we have a final agent that will apply the change, do like basic QA checks to make sure it didn't break anything, and then, and then you're done. And so that's sort of an orchestrated flow to make sure that there's levels of quality checks, but also levels of specialization that allows higher accuracy in the request as it goes through the flow.
And this
So
is
that's roughly how it
in
works.
your freelancer plan and pro plan or enterprise plan. This is there in every plan, the agent.
Yes. Yep. The only difference in the plans, and we were intentionally trying to make this very, very simple. The only difference is the number of smart edits you can apply to your site. So we call what I just described a smart edit. Um, different plans have different bundles of smart edits.
Mhm.
Larger agencies are obviously going to be able to automate a larger number of different requests, and so they require more smart edits. And then we have some small restrictions around the number of individual projects that you can install Maruni on. So agencies that maybe have 100 clients are going to need a higher plan because they need to be able to install it on 100 different WordPress sites. But the process and the quality and everything is the same regardless of the free tier that gets you a few of these smart edits, or the enterprise tier that gets you thousands of these smart edits. The quality and the results are going to be the same.
And I think the one feature which I really find really interesting is the video one, because what happens right now when people ask for feedback, and see, Seahawk is an agency, we deliver up close to hundreds, 150 sites, maybe sometimes even more every month. So I know back and forth a lot. Okay, and
Yep.
believe me, we have tried every single project management tool. I think the video feedback part is pretty cool because you don't need to use Loom separately or a tool like Loom, because I think you are removing that out of the equation. So the AI agent is there, the video is there. You don't need anything else besides this, basically. That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah. So,
Explain to me.
what's really interesting and exciting, and I want to relay a quick little message I heard, which I think you could probably relate based on your experience at Seahawk as well, is I heard this short story from an agency who has a particular client who will only communicate with them with 8-minute long Loom videos. And in that Loom video, he describes the 14, 15, 20, 25 different things he wants done on his website. And so they spend the client rep for that client will spend a few hours every time he sends it, watching the video, documenting okay, this thing he wants done, this thing wants done. They spend half a day, if not a full day, translating that video into the 48 requests he wants done, and then they go and spend, huge amounts of time to go and implement those things. What we aim to do is and we don't quite yet have this feature. We're working on this feature that allows you to upload that style of video, and we can automatically extrapolate the 25 requests that they rattled off in that video, turn those into smart edits, and implement hopefully a good chunk of those automatically. So what might have been an entire day for that particular client and that particular agency may take a few minutes to kind of review
This
and
feature already
apply.
there, or is it on your roadmap?
So recording the video is a capability we have in an individual smart edit. On our roadmap is to record a large, overview of all the edits you want
And the
done
summary is
across the site.
presented into the agent the way what you've described right now. That's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yep.
That's smart.
Yep.
But I was
Yep.
about to ask you, any, how are you prioritizing the next features? Because you already have a lot bundled in as what I see,
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. So is Maruni for, would you say agencies or direct customers of all shapes and sizes, or like who's your like real target audience? What do you say?
Yeah, I think it helps everybody, I would say. But I think the sweet spot certainly are medium and large agencies who are fielding a non-trivial number of requests on a week-by-week basis. When we talk to agencies of all size, right? Like we hear even medium-sized agencies sometimes are handling, you know, tens, if not dozens or hundreds of requests a month, if not a week, and large agencies even bigger numbers than that. That's where the time savings and the value that Maruni provides really start to add up to significant, revenue, or significant margin increases for these agencies, certainly, but certainly cost increases or cost decreases and so that's where I think the sweet spot is. I think we've talked to a lot of freelancers, and we have some freelancer users who enjoy it. May not, they may handle a few requests a week or a month at the most, but what they like about it, and so the time savings are great and valuable, but what they really like about it is just it's a streamlined, great experience for their customers, and it's sort of like a brand builder for them. Like they get a great tool, they get to give their customers a great tool to make it easy to record the changes that they want, even though maybe the volume isn't, thousands a month. It certainly is more fun and more interesting and a better customer
Professional
experience.
also. I would use the word professional as well versus like getting feedback
Professional, yeah.
over, booking a Zoom call or a phone call, etc. So I think it's very professional also.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think it's right. I think the smart edits are definitely saving agencies a lot of time. Needless to say that. I have to, after this call, I'll hit you up, for a license and start experimenting
Totally.
internally as well because I would love to. That's the great part about WP Legends. I'm meeting amazing like-minded co-founders and CEOs and marketing managers of companies in the WordPress ecosystem who I knew existed, never met, or never knew existed, and that's the best part. And that's why I'm glad to meet you. So I have a burning question. So Miruni is right now supporting Elementor and Gutenberg, but that's about it, not the other page builders. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's when we talk about roadmap. So Elementor and Gutenberg are the
Mhm.
flagships ones. We also have support for Bricks as well because we had a number of existing customers request that. But we have a roadmap to knock down the page builders as we go and enhance, the type of support that the Smart Edits can do. Um, we certainly have Divi on our list and Beaver Builder are active conversations. And looking at Etch and a few of the newer ones popping up kind of on our radar that some of your listeners may be familiar with. We're really doing this. We're continuing to, increase our support, but we're really doing this based on customer demand and need. We can look at the market share of, different page builders, certainly, and that's kind of where we started, but we're doing it really based on demand and what we're hearing from our customers and potential customers and what they want. But that's kind of where our focus is right now is expanding page builder support as well.
Got it. I think I read somewhere on your site, I can't remember, there was a word human intelligence. So what's the philosophy behind that?
So you're going to get me on a soapbox a little bit about the like my philosophy around AI by bringing that question up. So you prepared yourself for this.
Yeah.
Um, and you may find this on our site and some of our marketing and other things. We don't view AI today as a replacement of humans. We view AI as an accelerant of humans, right? And that's been a core part of our product philosophy so far. We don't want to replace web admins. We don't want to replace support engineers or personnel or whatever necessarily. We want to make them better, faster, and more effective and provide better experiences for their customers. And so that's why we have sort of a human in the loop process. Some of the edit requests that come into our system today could be automatically implemented with no human intervention. But we think AI is most effective when there's a lot of trust built up. And so we talk about human intelligence, we talk about other things like this because we believe the human in the loop is a critical part of successful AI deployments. And so we've baked that into our workflows. Every edit request is does have a human in the loop. And we are intentionally trying to make that as simple and as easy for that human to use and get the value out of and quickly move on to the next thing in their day. But the human in the loop is really there to make sure there's trust for the client that their site isn't going to just randomly break on a Friday afternoon, and trust for the web agency that they are continuing to be in control of that customer relationship. So that's the foundation of kind of why we talk about sort of human intelligence and accelerating humans and enhancing humans. It's more about
I
that
like
than
it.
it is
Yeah.
replacing them.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think the way AI is releasing updates and things are happening, nobody can keep up with the pace. And I think we need to all embrace it and just a start. I was
Yep.
speaking to somebody the other day, I don't remember who, but he made a very fun point. AI is where AI is right now is where internet was in the time of modem. Do you remember the modems and connect to the
Yep.
internet with the noise, tring, 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 and then connect to the internet?
Yep.
AI is there. So imagine 15, 20 years, forget 15, 5 years from now.
5 years. Yeah.
I,
Totally.
I use ChatGPT's agent mode and I'm addicted to it over the past 2 days. It's like activating 100 assistants,
Yeah.
It's
I,
unbelievable.
I'm addicted to Claude Code's agent mode that they launched last week. That gives you the ability to create a bunch of different agents to go and swarm around a problem and stuff. Like the cool thing about the world that we live in is it's a really exciting place to be right now. There's a new tool every day to play with and a new
Yeah.
technology to integrate and it can be intimidating in a lot of ways, but it is very much like the days of the modem because I lived through that as well, and I very much remember the same excitement. Like, oh, this new technology is launching on Monday, and I get to play with it, and it's like really transforming how we do the thing with computers or whatever it is. It's very much that again.
Let's not forget the 12 Mbps connection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now, yeah, exactly. And then if I mean, even that example, right? 12 BPS to the 24K modems and the 56K
Yeah.
modems. And like every month it seemed like we were upping the bar. So it's a very interesting place to be.
Now, the thing is, like, I ask this from everybody, okay? Like, and everybody has their own perspectives. And I think I know your answer, but where do you think WordPress is going in 5 years? Considering you just launched Maroni and with a WordPress plugin, so of course you're bullish on it. But your take on WordPress, considering AI, Lovable, Framework, and other tech.
I would have felt more confident in my answer a year ago or 2 years ago than I do now, just given how fast things are moving and changing. The cool thing is I'm close to the WordPress core AI team, James LePage and the other folks that he's building up on his team, and because we have to stay close to how WordPress is evolving and opening AI into their platform. So I would say my answer is I think WordPress is uniquely positioned over other competitors and approaches like Lovable and whatever else to blend this middle ground between sort of like structured administrative management of the site and sort of accelerated content creation, right? Lovable, and I use Lovable every day, not every day, but often. It's great at creating stuff from scratch, but it's really bad at sort of the evolution of that thing and sort of collaborating on that thing with customers and clients and, like
I'm with you.
content management and,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
all these other things and tools that WordPress has invested in. And so I'm bullish on the fact that if WordPress continues to invest in AI and continues to build similar tools from a content creation that Lovable and all these sort of like really advanced tools are creating, but blends it with the behind the scenes tools that allow it to be easy to manage and update and integrate into the enterprise and like have security review, like security plugins and performance plugins and all that ecosystem. I think they're uniquely positioned to kind of like emerge from this transition as the remain continue to be like the go-to platform for website building. But we'll see.
I think WordPress, you know what WordPress needs, and I discussed this with everybody. I think WordPress needs to become super simple for people, those who don't understand about launching a website at all.
Yeah,
Like you go to Lovable, you give commands, and it's like I know WordPress has launched the WordPress AI part. It's kind of public, not public, whatever. But
yeah,
maybe the things should be so simple. When people go to the WP admin, they give commands, and whatever they want is there. And I know code is becoming strong also. I must say, over the past 6 months to 1 year, the core has become really, really strong, and I hope it's continue. The stream continues, and now you mentioned that you're part of it also. So
yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think the magic of Lovable and tools like it is that anybody, even without a technical background, can just describe the things that they want. If WordPress can embrace that and fully embrace that, I think that's a huge opportunity for them.
got it. So how many people are there working with you on Maroni besides yourself?
We're a small lean and mean team. We have a couple folks. I have a lead engineer and a few other folks who lean in from an engineering perspective on and off as needed. And then we have some support personnel to make sure, we're providing the right level of support. And then it's me wearing a lot of hats on top of all of it. So we're a pretty small lean and mean team right now.
Got it. Got it. That's pretty cool. The thing is, you mentioned Lovable, my co-founder Ryan. I speak with him more than I speak with my wife, believe me. Okay.
Yeah,
But ever since he's been hooked on Lovable, he's working on some stuff internally, etc. Like when you get into vibe coding, you can't do anything else. I realized that.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's you have to have 100% concentration if you get into vibe coding. That much is for sure. Especially if you're not a coder. Because
yeah,
he can't code, but because of Lovable and similar technology, we can kind of code. But
yeah.
yes, you're right. The endpoints, email, or whatever you still there are so many steps to it. It's unbelievable. I
It's
must.
uh, it is fun, frankly. Like, I don't know if everybody shares this perspective, but I was talking to somebody the other day, and the ideas that we had 2 to 3 years ago before all these tools were available often stayed in the idea phase. They were just like, oh, that's a cool idea, but it would take you a few months to go and build the thing to prove it or to play with it or even to prototype it in some cases. And so,
Yeah.
it sort of sat there. Now I have an idea on an afternoon and I can have something that prototypes it and kind of implements it in the real world in a few hours.
Yeah, it's great for MVPs. It's great for MVPs. I must say that.
Great. Yes, it
Wow,
really
that's
is. And
unbelievable.
I remain, there's still a remaining challenge in that gap between MVPs and prototypes and production quality software. That gap still exists, but it's fun to be able to get what's in your head onto a piece of software in the real world in a few hours.
Got it. And how are you going to be challenging? Because Meroni is for the world. So right now, I see the website is in English, everything's in English. So how are you going to, overcome the translation challenge, or is that already in place?
Yeah, great question. That actually came up in a product planning meeting yesterday. So that's a timely question. So multilingual capability is very much on our list. And the hope is by the next WordCamp Asia, we have some early versions of our ability to support kind of end-to-end multilingual. We can actually do process smart edit requests in different languages already. So requests on websites that come in through smart edit system can be processed in a variety of different languages, but the localization of the website and the UI around it is not there at the moment. So it's very much on our list. It's sort of on the higher side of the priority, and our timeline is over the next few months we hope to have kind of full native support for
Gotcha.
multilingual.
You mentioned WordCamp, so are you visiting Portland, Oregon by any chance?
I am going to be in
Oh, wow,
Portland.
I'll see you there in person
Yep,
then. That's
I will
pretty
be
cool.
there. Yep, yep,
I'll set up a time with you, and it's good that we have 3 days. I was there last year also,
yep,
and yeah, and I think WordCamps are so important. And you mentioned WordCamp Asia, which is in Mumbai, India.
yep.
So do you visit? Have you visited previous WordCamps as well? Pretty often?
Many years ago. This is going to be my first WordCamp in recent Marooni history world. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
wow, that's pretty cool. I think WordCamps is such an important place. I always tell all of our listeners, and the WordCamp team actually should hire me, as one of their
Mhm.
brand ambassadors, because I always tell people that WordCamps are so important, whether it's small, set
Yep.
one, like 50, 100 people crowd, or even especially the bigger ones. You must go. And
Yep.
I went to WordCamp Basel, and next year the WordCamp is in Poland. First,
Mhm.
you get to explore a new city.
Yep.
Two, the connections you make, the friendships you make, the colleagues you meet, it's such a cool community. And Portland, Oregon, I must say the coffee was really good last year. So I hope this out of
Yeah.
all camps I've ever visited, the coffee is not at par. But Portland team did a fabulous job with the coffee.
Awesome. So is that your indicator of a good event is the quality of the coffee?
One of them
Yeah,
is
totally.
because you know what the meetings. See, my time and my co-founder's time, like it's all these meetings in the hallways, and going to the booths, looking at new plugins, meeting new people. Like now, I'm going to spend an hour with you there too, professionally and informally. Obviously, after parties are there too. But see, so that's it. We meet 40, 50 people, as many people as we can. After
Yep.
the evening, again, the conversation continue. One of the best conversations I've had are at midnight at some speakeasy bar, believe me. Okay. One of my biggest deals at Seahawk Media happened at a tiny wood camp at Boston 6 years ago. I swear.
Uh-huh.
So you never so you never know. That's what I'm saying.
I'd love to hear that story at some point for sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I'll tell you in person this month,
Yeah,
actually. August 1 today. So this month I'm gonna meet you in
it
person.
is. Yep. Yeah, I
Because
was at PressConf. You didn't happen to make it to PressConf, did you?
no,
Earlier?
no,
Yeah.
no, it's on my to-do though. I'm gonna go to CloudFest most likely though.
Yeah, CloudFest is great. Yeah, PressConf was great. Old Pressanomics, sort of the rebirth of Pressanomics from way back in the day, which I did attend way back in the day as well. But PressConf was a great event. Yeah, really well done. Kind of smaller event. I recommend anybody who kind of runs a business, certainly in WordPress, agencies, plugins, whatever it is. It's a great place to network and sort of like talk more focused on the economics of running inside the WordPress ecosystem. And it's a great community, great group, great event.
Gotcha. So tell me something. We're just coming over on time, so I have like fun rapid fire questions for you. So like screenshot or video feedback, which is working better? It's like in my mind now.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for different types of requests, I would give a different answer. But generally speaking, um,
Mm.
screenshots tend to be because the requests often in the quantity of the world, they often don't require the fidelity of video. They often are very easily understood and accurately understood with just a screenshot and a description. which is quick and easy and simple. Some people love video, some people don't love video, like being on video or talking on video and stuff. And so I think while it's valuable and it's there and it's important, I think screenshots are overall kind of the best approach at the moment.
Gotcha. And any surprising smart edit use case you've seen? Anything extraordinary? Any unusual?
Yeah, I mean, we designed Smart Edits to be primarily sort of content edits and updates right now. We want to expand, to like new pages and like broader, like sweeping rebrands of websites and stuff that we'll get to over time. But the most surprising stuff for us is when, we get a request that makes some big sweeping change to the site. We don't think it would work because we haven't optimized towards those use cases, and it will work. Sometimes people want to change the logo across the entire WordPress site or, make a change to the tagline across all the different pages. And so, those are interesting and exciting to see sort of work when they do work. So those are there's nothing too crazy or scandalous, I would say, that we've seen come across, but it's really the breadth of what people are doing with the tool sometimes across the site is the thing that gets us excited.
Gotcha. Any challenges you face with respect to hosting? If somebody has like not a powerful hosting, or Maroni works flawlessly, it doesn't matter, or certain
Yeah,
cases.
we don't we're very intentional about not using a ton of compute resources on the WordPress machine itself. We do most of the heavy lifting on the backend servers on our side.
Okay.
Um, so very little concern there for the
Okay.
most part. We
Gotcha.
do um, there are a wide range of different hosts and different ways of deploying WordPress and everything else. So those are the things that we're kind of like the biggest questions in our mind is continuing to expand our support of all sorts of different deployment models and everything else of WordPress. But so far we've been pretty good in that category.
Got it. And what are the WordPress plugins which you love besides Maroni? You can't live without.
Um,
It could be anything, form, security, whatever.
Yeah, like we do a lot of like, caching plugins and performance plugins. If you know Remkis and all the work that he's doing and stuff,
Mhm.
is always fun stuff because I'm kind of a performance nerd in some ways, and so I'm always excited about that stuff. The ones I don't get so excited about are like the SEO plugins and everything because I hate like SEO optimization and everything. So maybe I should like them actually a little bit in terms of automating some of the SEO optimization and stuff. But I love those and I think those are the ones that stand out to me
You
for
should you
sure.
should you should look at my some of my episodes, and many more are recorded and get published with the owners and CEOs of performance optimization plugin companies. Perf Matters has been there.
Dark Matters,
We
yeah.
published something with Fast Pixel and Short Pixel. So a lot of guests have been there on my
Uh-huh.
show, and
Yeah, it's fun. My background is like back end engineering, so I love like database optimization. It's my geeky like thing, code optimization, database optimization, all that stuff. So I love kind of playing with those tools and seeing how much percentage performance improvements I can eke out with, some advanced caching strategy or whatever it is. So.
got it. And when you need to unwind and you need to like completely go off Maroni and Crux Crystal, what do you do? Netflix? Any podcasts? What do you do?
Yeah, plenty of Netflix for sure. I'm a big cyclist, so I do gravel cycling and mountain biking here in Colorado where I live. And so I spend as much time as I can outdoors when I'm not chained in front of a computer trying to, solve some hard
Yeah.
problem. So it just depends on the week and the day.
Gotcha. So are you going to go to Portland a couple of days before and hit the mountains by any chance?
I would love to do that, but my daughter's birthday is right around that event, so I got to be here and do some of that stuff.
Girl
But
dad
yeah.
here, a girl dad here also, but I have my daughter is 17 months old. So
Oh, okay. Yes. Mine's turning 11, so little different, but yeah, it'll be fun.
it's the best thing. It's the best thing having a girl. I must
Totally.
say that.
100%. I
Anyways,
agree.
thank you so much for being on my show. Thank you so much for the time. And
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you at Portland. I'll fix a time with you. And I want to continue this conversation of this WP Legends podcast because I have a lot more
Love
to
it.
discuss with you. Thank you so much. It's
Love
great
it.
meeting
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.